Today, I am going to tell you something about your child's development that no one has ever told you before. What? You don't believe me? I'm challenging you. Watch this video and see if you already know these information that I'm going to tell you, and let me know in the comments if you knew it already or if you didn't know it already. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that you get regular updates of my video. And now let's go to the video. Okay, so this new something that I'm talking about is called levels of child development. I do early intervention and I follow a set or a system of early intervention which was called the Developmental Systems Approach given by Dr. Michael Gerlach. Now, I am going to break this approach down for you and tell you what it is and how it is beneficial to your child. This is the Developmental Systems Approach to early intervention. And in this approach, you can see two important things, that is the developmental resources and the organizational processes. And now, to help you better understand these two things, I am going to give you a small analogy. Imagine there's a war and you have soldiers. You can't just send soldiers into the battlefield and expect them to win the war. You need soldiers as well. You need lieutenants or you need generals or commanding officers who tell the soldiers what to do, how to form themselves, how to shoot, how to stand, how to reach the army camp. So you have the soldiers as well as you have the officers and other higher authorities who help the soldiers, and they both work together. And since a lot of my parents are from the computer science background, I'm going to give you a computer science example to help you understand this. So let's take the example of data sciences. In data sciences, you have a lot of raw data, and data alone isn't enough. You need to be able to infer information from the data in order to reach your goal. So you will employ a lot of techniques like machine learning, or you will use programming languages like R and Python to help you understand information from the data and apply it to your problem at hand. So in the same way, we have the developmental resources and we have the organizational processes. So developmental resources is our soldier or is our raw data. Organizational processes is our commanding officer or our programming languages or softwares. So the first developmental resource is cognition. Cognition is the most important developmental resource because it governs how we think. Especially, it governs how we receive information. Once we receive that information, how are we comparing that information to something that we already know from our memory, and how we are using these two informations to produce an output as an action or as a behavior or as a speech. So this is cognition. So under cognition, you have a lot of processes like attention, memory, problem solving, logical reasoning, and all these skills. I am going to brush through these levels because I don't want to start a lecture over here or bore you. If you need information, more specific information on any of these, let me know in the comments and I will give you. Now the second domain is language. In language, we again have three domains. That is, what we would call as speech language pathologists is form, content, and use. So form means all the sounds and all the words that you have in language. Content is the meaning of these words and the meaning of these sentences. And use is being able to use the sentence or the word in the appropriate context. The third skill is motor skill. So motor development, as you know, it includes fine motor skills, gross motor skills, balance, as well as coordination. Fourth domain, which might be a little bit confusing for you, is social emotional skills. So social emotional skills refers to skills like self-awareness, emotion understanding, relationship formations. All these are social emotional skills. And if you look at children with autism and children with a language delay, this is a skill that is predominantly affected. So you will work on decision making, on helping your child understand who they are, what they like, what they don't like. These are the skills that you will teach your child in the social emotional domain. Just a note, guys, I'm adding a lot of information in this video through pictures and through audio. So feel free to pause the video at any time, take a screenshot of the pictures that I'm adding over here and write down the notes of the points that I'm telling you also. Now we are going to the sensory perceptual skill. So sensory perceptual skill means that as human beings we have a lot of senses. We have 5, some people say we have 5, 6, 7, we have so many senses. So how we get information through these senses and how we process this information. Here I'm going to just put up a picture of visual sensory information. For example, when a child sees something, it's not just enough that they identify this as a ball or as a toy, but they should be able to understand the colors in it, the lightness or the darkness in the color, the depth of that image, have some understanding about the texture of that image. Similarly, these kinds of information is available for all sensory input, like even for auditory input. So when a child hears a sound b and a p or a t and a d, they should be able to know the difference between these two sounds, as well as for touch information, as well as for olfactory, that is the smell information, as well as for taste sensation, as well as for movement or kinesthetic sense of body. Now we've looked at our soldiers or our raw data. Now we are going to see what are the processes that help these raw data perform in everyday life. So these are our organizational processes, and the first one is executive functioning. These skills help children to complete tasks and switch between two tasks, and also able to manage difficulties when doing a task. Metacognition. Now metacognition refers to just thinking about thinking. That is, for example, I'm talking to you through this video and I am also in awareness of all the sounds that was going on in my environment and the lighting in my environment and how my voice sounds. So I'm not just doing one task, but I'm also monitoring my task simultaneously through another brain processes. That is called metacognition. Similarly, when your child is doing a task, I have to constantly evaluate, am I doing the correct thing? Am I saying the right word? Am I saying the right sound? So these are metacognitive skills that you also have to teach your child. If you're liking this video so far, hit the thumbs up button and let me know in the comments also. So the next thing that we're going to see is social cognition, which is one of my most favorite topics, because social cognition is a very important cognitive skill again, but it relates to language and it relates to how we communicate. So there is a concept called theory of mind, which states that as human beings, we are not just aware of our feelings, but we are aware of other people's feelings too. And you would also see this in your child when they pretend play, or when they take care of a toy or take care of an inanimate stuffed doll. So they try to make them feel better. If they see someone hurt, they try to reach them and acknowledge them and support them and console them. Also, if they see someone happy, they try to go stand with them and share their happiness. Also, they see if somebody is in trouble, they want to go help, they want to go offer solutions. So these are social cognitive skills that also have to simultaneously develop in order to make our child very socially and very community adapted. If you have been in my parent training programs, you probably know this perspective taking that I talk about often. That is, we have to also be able to see how other people think, what they think, why do they feel this way, how can we help them, and how will I feel if this happened to me. So these are some things that I also target in my parent training classes. This brings us to the fifth organizational process, which is emotional regulation. Emotional regulation refers to children being first of all aware of their emotions. That is, if something goes wrong, our children cry. But do they really understand what is happening to them? Do they understand that something they like is not available, or some need they're having is not met? So it first begins with children understanding their own emotions and then analyzing, am I feeling a positive emotion or am I feeling a negative emotion? Now, how do I tackle this? What should I do? Should I go ask my mom for a solution? Should I cry? Should I roll on the floor? Or should I try to control myself, wait, and then approach this again? So these are all emotional regulation skills that children need to be having in order to become very emotionally intelligent adults. An adequate early intervention program or an adequate speech language pathology or speech therapy that you're receiving or your child is receiving should encompass all these domains, should focus on teaching your child not just basic words or not just sentences, but also how to use the sentences, how to regulate their emotions, how to adapt ourselves to the social situation. Because development is not linear, right? The development is not just through one straight way. There are so many things that merge inside the child's brain to form a holistic idea or a holistic understanding. So make sure if your speech therapist or your any therapist is going through these goals, and if you are only receiving one type of therapy, make sure your child is stimulated in all of these areas, and so that they holistically develop and there is no skill lagging in them, so they can become social individuals who are very competent and who can function well in their environment. If this information was very helpful for you, share it with other family, friends, professionals who can also benefit from this. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.